Hey there, MJ traders and investors. It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Also home to the best MJ community. Today is Wednesday, July 3rd. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, by popular request, going to go over the Chevron ruling and a lot of the uncertainty, FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt that, in my opinion, was circulated. In my opinion, it's going to be Schedule 3 or descheduling. That's the outcome that we're going to get. I don't care how many lawsuits. I don't care how many FUD articles. I've been saying for many months, we're going to get tons of opposition. We're going to get FUD after FUD after FUD. There's going to be lawsuits. At the end of the day, I think it's all noise. I'm not listening to any of it. It's either Schedule 3, which I think is over 90% probability of happening between now and, call it the fall, or with slight chance of descheduling. And that's in my opinion. But again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm certainly not a legal expert or a lawyer. So you should take what I say with a grain of salt. This is my own thoughts and opinions. I'm not a financial advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only, all that good stuff. You should never buy or sell anything based on that, anything that I say or write. Also, if you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff to be notified on any future videos or when I go live. And you can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. Handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. So I'll dumb this down. A lot of people were asking me to make a video about this, give my thoughts and opinions, so I was going to do just that. There was a Supreme Court ruling that supposedly nuked MJ rescheduling with the Chevron ruling in an op-ed from MJ Moment. So just to kind of, I'll go into more detail and why the stock market, well, we saw the stock market, S&P 500 was at all-time highs today, so that helped with MJ, but there was tons of articles out today kind of going against that thought process. So the Supreme Court ruling, how will that affect rescheduling? MJ Biz was covering it as well. And then today, MJ Moment said, reports of MJ rescheduling Chevron-related death are greatly exaggerated. And then there was also a Green Market report saying rescheduling expert makes a case for why Chevron ruling was actually good for MJ, right? So this is just classic mind games that they play. So just to explain it in layman's terms, the Supreme Court's decision to overturn the Chevron ruling would make it more difficult for these three-letter agencies, so these federal agencies like the DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, to reschedule or to move from one schedule to deschedule or reschedule. This is because actually to deschedule it, I believe you'd need to get Congress to be in the mix. But this is because the Chevron ruling previously allowed courts to defer the DEA's interpretation of ambiguous law in the CSA, for example. And with that overturned, courts may now be more likely to challenge their decisions, these three-letter agencies, right? Which we know they have way too much power anyway, and they're unelected bureaucrats, right? And they're power hungry, and a lot of them, if you look at Gary Gensler, he used to work for Goldman Sachs, right? They call him Goldman Gary. And, he's working for these big financial and Wall Street banks, right? And in my opinion, that's just a conflict of interest, and it just shouldn't happen. We need to rely more on state law. I think we need to rely less on these three-letter agencies that are put there, unelected bureaucrats, like I said, and take some of that power away from them. There's even talks to get rid of the SEC altogether or to restructure the SEC. So, this isn't just, and that comes from crypto, not just MJ, but there's a lot of issues with these agencies, and there's tons of corruption. There's blatant corruption and regulatory capture and overreach, right? And in my opinion, it's just a matter of time before it changes. But the courts may now challenge that decision potentially by the DEA or HHS or the FDA, which could potentially lead to delays or even the cancellation of rescheduling. That was the concern, right? And the original Supreme Court Chevron ruling refers to, basically it was a decision made back in 1984, and it was instructed by the lower courts to defer federal agencies when laws passed by Congress are not crystal clear. And it was that doctrine, right, which essentially just means it's an important set of rules or some sort of precedent in something that's followed in the field of law, right? So that's basically the long and short of it. To give you some background. What else? The ruling has been a cornerstone for administrative law. Just going through some of my notes, which gives agency authority to interpret ambiguous law and regulations. And then on June 28th, the Supreme Court overturned the Chevron ruling, which is a significant victory for conservative legal movement. The decision shifts the balance between power of the executive and judicial branches and could have a sweeping implication on the environment, public health, workplace safety, consumer protections, etc. So this was in response to a case involving the National Marine Fisheries Service. I'm not going to go into all details, but the ruling is a major setback for the government's regulatory power and could lead to a wave of litigation challenging decisions, yada, yada, yada. Critics of Chevron ruling argue that it gave too much power to unelected bureaucrats. So I would agree with that, right? Like, it shouldn't be, you shouldn't just be able to put, like, this is the whole point of working in Congress, right? And like, I've seen tons of people in different Republicans, Democrats, both sides of the aisle saying that we need to, like, Congress needs to be banned from owning stocks and crypto and things like that, right? Like, obviously that needs to happen. And we just need more common sense approaches to things. And, giving these three-letter agencies all this power when they're unelected, they're just put in there by elected officials most of the time, right? So in my opinion, we need to get back to, more state law and relying less on these three-letter agencies, which from what I can tell, they're all compromised for the most part, right? And they're all working some sort of agenda in coercion. So how will the Supreme Court ruling affect MJ reschedule? I'm not going to go through this, but if you haven't seen that, you can check it out. It says that this could curtail federal regulatory agencies' power and has triggered a fresh round of uncertainty about the status of MJ rescheduling. But none of the uncertainty is expected to disrupt the Biden's administration rescheduling process. Policy and administrative law experts told MJ is Daily. So like I said, I think it's just FUD and just trying to instill fear and uncertainty and doubt and just, keep everybody guessing and playing all these mind games, right? Nothing is ever easy, and they make it so, they try to get you so emotional and wonder, is it happening? Is it not happening? At the end of the day, I said there's going to be noise, there's going to be opposition, there's going to be FUD, there's going to be all sorts of lawsuits. Don't listen to it. In my opinion, it's all noise. And then here was another article. I won't go into this in detail, try to keep this video a little bit short, but here was a great article here. The rescheduling expert makes case for why Chevron ruling was actually good for MJ. So we go through Houston-based Matt Zorn, who I've covered him on the channel before. A partner at Yetter Coleman LP wrote to his Substack subscribers that overturning Chevron was actually a good thing for rescheduling, and emphasized directly to Green Market Report that the ruling changes nothing regarding the current process underway to switch MJ to Schedule 3 from Schedule 1. Rather, Zorn argued that the new ruling undercuts some of the previous excuses used by the DEA to reject pleas for MJ rescheduling, which means, Zorn wrote, fears that Chevron ruling will be fatal to federal MJ rescheduling are tantamount to a nothing burger. Zorn penned the piece in response to the Green Market Report story from Tuesday that quoted attorney Josh Schiller as predicting that Chevron case would lead to rescheduling being canceled because it could provide legal ammunition to MJ opponents who are likely to file court challenges to the reclassification. And there's a lot of effort to get MJ descheduled as well. So you have to keep that in mind, right? We know that there's U.S. House Democrats introducing bill to federally legalize MJ. I've already done a video on this, but essentially the MORE Act, which aims to decriminalize and deschedule MJ, provide expungements, and reinvest in those adversely impacted by the drug war. And there was an update. This was just an update article, and the update was right here. So another 45 Democratic representatives have signed on as co-sponsors for a total of 91 as of June 27, 2024. And then we also have the CAOA, right, which is the MJ Administration and Opportunity Act, which was introduced in the Senate on Wednesday by Cory Booker of New Jersey and Chuck Schumer. So there's multiple bills going here to deschedule MJ, right? And I know, there's been a lot of questions with regards to, Trump. And again, I'm from Canada. I don't get political on this channel, but, I know he's a big advocate for letting states decide and leaving it up to the states, right? And state law, which I agree. We need to rely less on, the executive branch, less on these three-letter agencies, and focus more on, you could go back. There's three different types of branches, right, in the U.S. when it comes to different branches of the government. There's the judicial branch, there's the congressional branch, the legislative branch, right? So Congress, and then there's the executive branch. So in my opinion, I think they need to get away from the executive branches, just focus more on the state law and using common sense and relying less on these three-letter agencies. Because like I said, a lot of them are corrupt. They have some sort of political agenda, or, they're working for the incumbent banks or pharmaceutical companies or big alcohol, tobacco. They get lobbied, right? So at the end of the day, I think there's a slight chance that we get descheduling, similar to what Germany and Canada have done. But I think rescheduling is going to be the most likely scenario. I think it'll happen before the elections. I think it'll be sometime around October. But ultimately, there's tons of bills right now to deschedule MJ, to follow in the footsteps of Canada and Germany, and then rescheduling, again, there's going to be tons more FUD. There's going to be a ton of noise. There's going to be a ton of, just them playing mind games. That's all it is, right? So don't be too beaten down by this. I don't think there's anything to worry about. I still think Schedule 3 is the most likely scenario with a slight chance of descheduling. But it's either one or the other, end of story, in my opinion. But hopefully this video was helpful. If it was, hit the like, share it with your network. With anybody that might find value, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. Going to end it there, it's Rod with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth, and we'll see you again in the next video.